My own son called me stupid, uneducated, and sickly, right there on his graduation day, a day I'd broken my back to afford. His words cut deeper than any knife, and they were caught on camera, viewed by millions, mocked by thousands. But I didn't scream. I didn't curse. I stood in silence while the world watched. And then, I chose something far stronger than rage. I chose justice, not the loud kind, the lasting kind. My name is Brenda Jackson, 62 years old, widowed, and until recently, I was proud, not of myself, but of my boy. His name is Miles. I raised him alone since his father passed from a fever before Miles could say, "Dada." I had no college, no inheritance, no comfort, just grit, aching joints, and a prayer I whispered every night. Let my boy have the life I never did. I worked myself into illness so he wouldn't have to feel poor. Early mornings, scrubbing offices, late nights serving soup in cafeterias, weekends sewing dresses for women who called me sweetheart but never asked my name. Sleep, rare, health, gone, hope, all in Miles. He was always bright, always ambitious. I skipped doctor visits to pay for his books, ate crackers for dinner so he could attend that fancy prep school. I even mopped hospital floors with pneumonia once, because tuition was due. That's the kind of mother I was. And then came that day, graduation, my dream come true. I took 2 buses and walked a mile in aching shoes just to watch him cross that stage. I brought a cheap disposable camera, one I'd saved up for by skipping meds. In my purse, a crumpled $20 bill, my last until payday, so he could celebrate with his friends. When I saw him in his cap and gown, Lord, my heart swelled. All the pain faded for a second. That was our moment. But when I asked him for a picture, when I stepped forward with love in my eyes and pride in my heart, he looked me dead in the face and threw his diploma folder at me. It grazed my cheek, not hard, but hard enough. And then he said it. "This degree is probably the most education our family's ever seen. Too bad your stupid, uneducated, sickly self could never understand what it really means." The world froze. People stared. Phones recorded. I stood there, humiliated, discarded like a stranger. Not a mother, not even a woman, just an obstacle in his perfect photo. But while the tears burned and the shame crushed me, something inside clicked. My silence wasn't weakness, it was ignition. That day, something inside me broke. But something far stronger began to grow. I didn't cry right away. Not when the diploma hit my face. Not when the crowd went silent. Not even when my son turned away from me like I was nothing more than a janitor who'd wandered into his big day. I just stood there, frozen, gripping my cane with one hand and that cheap disposable camera with the other. The camera dropped, the cane wobbled, but I stayed standing, because if I collapsed, I was scared I might never get up. Miles had walked away, laughing, smiling, surrounded by friends who didn't know me, didn't want to. He was a polished product now, clean-cut, sharp suit, glossy future. And there I was, wrinkled dress, swollen ankles, cracked voice, stupid, uneducated, sickly. His words echoed louder than the cheers. When I finally limped back to the bus stop, the diploma folder still lying on the grass behind me, I felt like the very bones in my legs had lost their reason to hold me up. That bus ride home, longest of my life, not in distance, but in pain. People were still celebrating around me. Laughter, champagne bottles, parents crying tears of joy. And me? I sat hunched in the back, staring at my own hands like they weren't mine. Those were the same hands that spoon-fed that boy soup when he had fevers, that held flashcards with trembling fingers late into the night, that packed his lunch while skipping my own, that scraped floors, folded linens, worked overtime until arthritis made them swell like balloons. And now, he'd looked at those same hands and saw shame. When I finally walked into my small apartment, my knees gave out. Right there in the doorway. I didn't even make it to the couch. I slid down the wall and wept. Not a quiet cry, not a gentle sob, but a full, broken-body wail. The kind of cry you save for funerals. And maybe that's what this was. The funeral of a mother's hope. Hours passed. I don't remember how many. Time turned soft, like a memory I didn't want. Later that night, Mrs. Rodriguez, my neighbor, knocked on my door. She said, "Brenda, you need to see this." In her hands, a tablet, playing a video. The video. Someone had filmed the whole thing, the snatching of the diploma, the throw, the cruel words. It was all there, online, viral, titles like "Ungrateful Grad Humiliates Hardworking Mother," "Heartbreaking Graduation Moment," "Son from Hell," "My Shame," "Broadcast," "My Tears," "Public Property." I wanted to disappear, but then I scrolled through the comments, and something shifted. They weren't laughing. They weren't mocking me. They were furious. For me. That poor woman, you can see the pain on her face. He doesn't deserve that degree if that's how he treats his mom. She worked her whole life for him, and he did this? Thousands of strangers, defending me, lifting me, saying what I couldn't. For the first time in decades, I felt seen, and somewhere in the ashes of my heartbreak, a fire began to flicker. Not the fire of revenge, not yet, but the fire of someone who's finally had enough. That night I didn't sleep. Not a minute. I sat in my old chair staring at nothing, letting the pain sit with me like a heavy guest who wouldn't leave. The video was still playing in my mind, over and over. His voice calling me sickly, stupid, like I was trash. The world had seen it now. They had judged him. They had felt for me. But what they didn't see was what came next. Because that night, something inside me cracked. Not in a way that made me weaker, but in a way that finally let the truth pour out. I thought about all the years, the aching knees, the greasy aprons, the times I skipped meals so he wouldn't, the nights I cried over bills while he slept easy in clean beds I made, the jobs I took, the birthdays I missed, the health I gave up. And for what? So he could throw a folder at my face? So he could curse me in front of strangers? So he could pretend he was better than the woman who gave him everything? No, not anymore. That next morning, I got up early, made myself a small cup of tea, took my medicine, brushed back my hair, and I walked down to the bank. I looked the teller in the eye and said, "I need to remove my son's name from my account." The words felt strange in my mouth, but right. She gave me some papers. I signed them, with a hand that didn't shake. Then I came home, sat on my porch, watched the light hit the trees. Miles still hadn't called, but I knew he would, and when he did, I would be ready. That same day, Mrs. Rodriguez came by again, tablet in hand. Her face looked serious. "Brenda," she said, "you need to see this." It was a statement from Miles's university. Official. They had seen the video, too. They were pulling his scholarship, the one that paid for his last year, the one I used to pray he'd get so I wouldn't have to sell my necklace. Gone. They were also reviewing his conduct for possible future consequences. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel proud. I felt still. Like the world had finally stopped spinning long enough for me to breathe. This wasn't revenge. This was reality. Actions have weight. And my son, for the first time, was starting to feel it. The locks were changed. The money was protected. The world had seen what he tried to keep hidden. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was standing up, quietly, but completely. The phone rang just past 8 p.m. Rain tapped gently against my windows like a soft warning. It was Miles. His voice? Different this time. Less fire, more fog. "Mom," he said. "I messed up." He talked about the video, the backlash, how the university pulled his scholarship. He cried a little, said he didn't mean what he said, told me he was trying to impress his friends, that he felt ashamed. Then, just like I knew he would, he asked, "Can I come home?" There it was. Not an apology, not ownership, a request, a need. The same need that always came when the money dried up, when the friends stopped calling, when the doors started closing. But mine had already closed. "Miles," I said calmly, "I'll always love you, but that love doesn't mean you get to treat me like nothing." He went quiet. "You called me stupid, sickly, uneducated, on the day I should have felt proudest. You didn't just break my heart, baby. You stepped on it in front of the whole world." Still silence. "You are going to have to learn to stand on your own 2 feet, just like I did. And I hope, sincerely, that one day you'll understand the weight of a mother's sacrifice." Then I said goodbye. No yelling, no guilt, just boundaries. And peace. I hung up the phone, poured myself some tea, and let the stillness wrap around me like a blanket sewn from 62 years of survival. I didn't win. This wasn't a victory. This was clarity. If you've ever felt discarded, invisible, or broken by your own blood, you're not alone. Comment where you're listening from, what time it is, and let me know if this hits you deep. Because it hit me deep to live it. And if you're still standing after everything they did, then, so, you never feel small again. So, you know, someone sees you.